Bikini Bottom seems like one of the most peaceful places. You've got Goo Lagoon, the Krusty Krab for lunch, a cozy little theater downtown. It's a fun little city to live in. That is until you actually pay attention to the citizens. Because rude is definitely an understatement. They're impulsive, weirdly proud of being wrong, and for some reason, they love turning small problems into public events. And yes, SpongeBob gets the worst of it. So the obvious question is, why? Did they genuinely hate someone like SpongeBob? Do they have a bad history of dealing with loud personalities? Or are they just like this with everyone? However, the more I looked into it, I started to think that SpongeBob wasn't the real cause here. He's just the town's favorite excuse. So yeah, just like the title says, I'm convinced Bikini Bottomites are a bunch of idiots. And you're about to see why. Now, of course, everything kinda has to start with SpongeBob. He's the main character, the center of this world everyone's reacting to. And there are some instances where people just seem to be mean jerks to SpongeBob. One of the earliest examples is Season 3, The Sponge Who Could Fly.
If only I could join you there in the air.
In that episode, SpongeBob's whole dream is simple. He wants to fly with the jellyfish. So, he follows Grandpa SquarePants' advice to build a flying machine. He makes multiple attempts. Some biplanes, homemade contraptions, some latex Batman suits, but he keeps failing. A lot. And because he fails right out in public, people start to make fun of him. They called him a birdman, taunt him with a chicken move. Even a local newspaper made a joke about it. A local nutcase tries to fly. It's laughter everywhere. Everyone thinks his dream is ridiculous. However, given the context, it's not the first time we heard a story of someone being called ridiculous for having a crazy dream. It's just the way it is with every big innovation. With that being said, they're still jerks to SpongeBob. Because once SpongeBob talks back and says what a sad day it is when a guy is being ridiculed for having a dream, they just double down on him by saying, "You think you're the only one with unfulfilled dreams?" Then they chase him with a pitchfork and torch. Like, is that the reason you're mad? Because someone is actually chasing his dream while you're already giving up? I'm a failure, so no one should be able to succeed. What a crab mentality. Then what about Grandma Kisses? I can't think of any reason to make fun of anyone for loving his elderly grandmother. I mean, sure, she gave her grandson a bright pink lipstick kiss mark on the forehead. That was silly, and everyone at the workplace gets a laugh or two from it. But it goes way beyond just a laugh. They keep making fun of him acting like a baby and laughing nonstop even though SpongeBob is on the edge of crying. What's even crazier, they go so far as to follow SpongeBob to his grandmother's house just to have one last good laugh at it. Like, what has SpongeBob done to you? It's almost as if they're outright bullying SpongeBob at this point. But of course, we can't talk about them hating on SpongeBob without mentioning the most extreme examples. The episode Gone from Season 6. They're going all out to make a national No SpongeBob Day, just to avoid SpongeBob for a full day, or a few weeks actually, because according to Patrick,
yeah, everybody needs at least one day away from...
Now, I can understand it a bit. If the whole point was just about them staying away from SpongeBob and his iconic laughs. But then, as Mr. Krabs explained it, they built a giant wooden effigy of SpongeBob and burned it to the ground, and danced on top of the ashes like there's no tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised if they were trying to curse SpongeBob while they were at it. So, considering all these episodes I just talked about, it looks like people are in a deep love-hate relationship with SpongeBob. Some people clearly love him, maybe even depend on him for being the best fry cook in town. It's just natural for a regular to get close to the restaurant employees, and yet they always go too far anytime they see a chance to make fun of SpongeBob. However, to give credit where it's due, I get why people try to justify it. SpongeBob is a lot to take on. He's loud, always puts his long nose where it doesn't belong, and he basically ends every kind of conversation with a laugh. A lot of laughs.
Good one, Patrick.
Also, not to mention, there are just so many cases of SpongeBob destroying Bikini Bottom because of Just stupid stuff. Once he shrinks everyone and puts them in a glass jar, he wraps them all because he thinks they're aliens in Sandy's rocket. He causes traffic terrors as a maniac in Hall Monitor. He even manages to blow up the whole town a few times. So, okay, if you only look at these examples, you could land on a simple conclusion. Maybe SpongeBob really is the problem. But here's where it gets interesting. If you zoom out and look at how Bikini Bottom reacts to literally anything, you realize SpongeBob is not the only one catching all the bullets. Because, surprise, Bikini Bottom doesn't reserve this energy for SpongeBob. They do it to everyone.
Hey pal, you just blowing from Stupid Town?
The best proof for this argument is Squidward. If you've been following this channel for a while, you might be familiar with how I often talk about Squidward as a talented artist in an unforgiving place, like in my video about Squidward's paradox. In short, Squidward is literally the closest thing this show has to a normal adult. He's cynical, he keeps to himself most of the time, he loves to roast people every now and then. In some episodes, we can even see Squidward with them making fun of SpongeBob. And yet, Bikini Bottom still hates him for it. Like in Squidward, people cheer every time the Squidward doll performs, but not when Squidward's the one doing it. They're basically the same thing. Squidward is a replica of Squidward, but the real one is less entertaining to you? I genuinely think they might just be rage-baiting Squidward in that episode. Like, they just want to see him spiraling out of control for no reason. Now, you could argue, okay, that's Squidward. He's a grumpy old cashier, sure. But they also did it to Sandy over a stupid joke from a stand-up night, the iconic Squirrel Jokes episode. Like, how can you not understand it's just a joke? Or is it quite the opposite? That they know it's a joke, but still decide to pick on her because it's just a fun thing to do. Not to mention, they also made fun of SpongeBob for bombing on the stage earlier in the episode.
What smells rotten and puts people to sleep?
Noxious gas?
But you know what? It's a stand-up night. It's just how it is sometimes. And to be fair, they're willing to laugh at themselves when SpongeBob makes a joke about fish, so yeah. But still, calling Sandy dumb squirrel outside of the show is bad, and racist to some extent. Other times they're making fun of Plankton for losing against crabs. Hell, they didn't even have any problem throwing hands with Old Man Jenkins out of some poor misunderstanding. Twice.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
I love the young people.
My point is, they just love being mean to each other. Whether it's SpongeBob, Squidward, Sandy, Plankton, some random grandpa walking down the street, it doesn't matter. As long as it satisfies their ego, they don't think twice. Or maybe it's some weird kind of love language. Being sarcastic and mean to give everyone a reality check? I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure the next question is way scarier. Think about it. If they're willing to dogpile individuals for trivial stuff like this, then what happens when they actually find someone who is objectively guilty? Sure enough, it won't be pretty. Now, the mean streak is one thing, but Bikini Bottom's real specialty is how fast they can turn into a crowd. And once they become a crowd, there's no place for logic. Let's start with Wormy. The plot's simple. SpongeBob and Patrick are taking care of Sandy's pet caterpillar, Wormy, while she's away. They play with him, take pictures with him, show him off, but then Wormy goes into a cocoon. SpongeBob and Patrick assume he's gone forever. They start mourning like they just lost a family member until the cocoon opens and Wormy comes out as a butterfly. SpongeBob tries to contain it with a bubble, but it just gives him the means to go outside of the tree dome. And from that moment, the town just breaks. The first person who sees it panics, and from there, the panic spreads quickly. I mean, sure, they have never seen a butterfly on the ocean floor, but nobody even bothered asking what it is. Nobody is asking where it came from. They just panic. People run into walls, people crash through buildings, people stampede through town. Wormy doesn't even do anything. it's the fishes of Bikini Bottom that destroy their own city. Then you've got Sandy, SpongeBob, and the worm. This is the Alaskan bullworm episode, and the story is about Bikini Bottom getting terrorized by this giant worm that destroys any building in its way. Of course, the town goes into full panic. Everyone is understandably terrified. Sandy, of course, goes the opposite direction. She thinks everyone is being a chicken, and she wants to prove herself by going out there and dealing with it. But while Sandy and SpongeBob deal with the Alaskan bullworm, the town decides they need a hero moment for themselves, which is following Patrick's plan to move Bikini Bottom by all pushing it together.
Push! Push!
A whole city agrees that relocating the town by shoving it is a realistic civic response. But the craziest example, of course, is Once Bitten, which is the mad snail disease outbreak episode. So one day, Gary bites Squidward out of nowhere. Then Gary starts biting more people around town while foaming from his mouth. Squidward asks SpongeBob if Gary has had all his shots, and SpongeBob realizes he forgot one. A mad snail disease shot that Patrick had mentioned.
Let's not forget the worst of them all. Mad snail disease.
And this is where Bikini Bottom does what it always does. Instead of anyone going, maybe Gary's just acting weird, or maybe ask a real vet for an answer, no, they just think this is a good time for an outbreak. Because Patrick starts talking about symptoms like losing your mind and becoming a zombie. Now, everyone who was bitten is just convinced they're at death's door, even though they might not actually feel anything. It's just stupid. You know the saying, apes are strong together? Yeah, this is the opposite. The fish are idiots together. All they need is one provocateur to light them up and start rioting, especially this fish, Harold the dogfish. I swear, man, every time the whole town is on the edge of a problem, he's the one who always pops the bubble. He's the one making sleeping jokes at stand-up night. He's the one who's so eager to throw hands with Old Man Jenkins. Heck, he's the reason they all fight during Band Geek's training session.
Big meaty claws! What did you say, punk?
Harold is the real culprit behind half the riots in Bikini Bottom, and I guess the people are so used to rioting over the years, they just go along with it without any real reason. In the episode Sing a Song for Patrick, we can see there are people selling pitchforks and torches from a cart on the side of the road. It's a great business model fitting for a town with regular riots. Then again, we shouldn't be surprised at all that this city loves to riot because of simple stuff. I mean, this is a city full of blood sport events, right? One of the first examples that comes to mind is the Great Snail Race. So, SpongeBob enters Gary into a snail race to compete with Snelly and Rocky. But everything turns into one of the most uncomfortable spectator episodes in the show, because Gary gets pushed past his limits by SpongeBob. On race day, Gary's basically falling apart to the point that he crashes. And you know what their reaction is to it? It's just entertainment for them. So it makes total sense that these people love the Demolition Derby and Demolition Doofus. And they are willing to pay just to see someone get slaughtered at Chum Coliseum in Spongicus.
Rip his sausages off!
It's all the same to them. These people just crave blood and spectacles. Sadly, once you line all this up, the people of Bikini Bottom start feeling like a familiar figure, right? One rumor turns into a widespread belief, one loud guy becomes the leader, and the whole crowd moves with a single thought in their head. Which is why the Bikini Bottomites are idiots joke isn't really about fish, it's about us. Because unfortunately, we do the same thing. Not underwater, obviously. We don't push our city to a new location because we saw a worm, but we do stuff that's equally as stupid. Every group has a herald. The guy who says the dumb thing out loud first, so everyone else can pretend they didn't start it. And the rest of the town? They're not evil masterminds either. They're just uncomfortable being wrong together. Bikini Bottom's idiot society never needs facts or solutions. They just need momentum to express their rage, which is why the town's behavior keeps cycling the same way. Something weird happens, Everybody overreacts, somebody gets blamed, and when it's over, nobody learns anything. And honestly, that's the funniest and saddest part of SpongeBob's world, because SpongeBob himself is basically the opposite of that. He is naive, sure, but he tries. He cares. He doesn't join the mob unless he's being written as extra stupid for the joke. Meanwhile, the town is basically the background of human nature when nobody wants responsibility. So no, Bikini Bottomites aren't written as idiots just for the plot. They're idiots because the show is parodying humanity's worst side in fish form. So yeah, I'm convinced Bikini Bottomites are a bunch of idiots. SpongeBob or Squidward or anyone is never really the problem. They're just the town's favorite excuse because they're the main character. I know for a fact that someone will say it's all just plot device for SpongeBob, but that's exactly why it's believable. They're showing us the ugliest part of human behavior in the safest packaging possible, a goofy little fish town. I used to think Bikini Bottom was a nice place to live, but now I think even Gotham City is a better choice. Anyway, if you want to see another corner of Bikini Bottom's society problem, I've got you. In my previous video, I broke down the times Mr. Krabs actually got what he deserved. The rare moments where the writers finally stopped letting him get away with being a greedy little menace. Because if Bikini Bottomites are idiots, then Krabs is the guy who knows it and profits off it. So, if you want that next, it's right here. I'll see you on the next dive.